Let's take a look at the fundamentals of drawing or creating walls in AutoCAD Architecture. So on the screen I have a shape that I'm going to turn into, let's say, the exterior walls of a building. And on the left I have Archidyme's custom tool palette for new walls. And it starts off with the interior walls that have sheetrock on each side and stud in the middle. For this demonstration, it'll be better if I go down to the exterior wall styles that we have. The reason I want to go to the exterior, but mostly, is because they're asymmetrical. Interior walls typically are pretty symmetrical. When you get to asymmetrical walls, you start to see more complexity in the process of drawing them. So if I go down and pick here, this is it's a horizontal sided. Think of it like hardy board, some kind of cement board with a 1/2-inch sheetrock on the inside and a variable stud in between. I'm going to go ahead and pick that and zoom in a little bit so we can see it better. Now if I draw that wall down from top to bottom or from right to left, you'll kind of see how the wall behaves in those different directions. The line that you're seeing that the cursor is following is the baseline. And the way we design our walls, that would be the exterior face of stud. So just be aware that when you're using our wall styles, that is the exterior face of stud. Now if I come down and just pick here, you'll see when I select it that that's where the grips come off of. That is the baseline. The thicker side is the plywood plus the finished material, and the thinner side here, this edge, is the 1/2-inch sheetrock. If you go to high detail, you'll see there's the plywood, there's the finished material, and there's the sheetrock. And if you go to low, you're just going to see a clean wall, more like for presentation purposes. I'll go back to medium. Now, when you draw these walls, I'll draw another one. In AutoCAD Architecture, there are some nice little tricks that you may not know about. So if I'm drawing the wall like this, and I realize, oh, the way that this was designed is going to put the finished material, in this scenario, is going to put it at the bottom of where I'm drawing. I actually want it to be at the top. You don't have to stop and start again. You can just hit the control key. That'll flip the wall. And so now if I go ahead and pick a point, you'll see the finished material is now facing up. Another trick that you may not know about, if you're drawing the wall like this and you realize, oh, I meant for this to be centered, you don't have to start or stop and start again. You can hit the shift key and it'll cycle through your justifications. So this is now absolute left, absolute center, absolute right, and then it'll go back to baseline. So if I go to center, now I'm going absolute center, and it's drawing it based on absolute center. And you can combine those two. So you could do this and go, nope, don't like that. Let me do a control, and then boom, over to center. And it now phases up. This one phased down. All right, so those are some neat tricks. Converting line work is particularly useful if you're doing as-builts, or if somebody else has given you the maybe an AutoCAD perimeter of a building, and you're going to be turning it into an AutoCAD architecture building. Having a nice clean polyline is very useful. So now you have the choice of doing it off of a tool, which I prefer, but know that you can also type in a WallConvert if you don't have access to the tool for some reason. Now the WallConvert won't let you pick a style, so that's kind of unfortunate, but it will work. So if I go ahead and do this and hit enter, and then enter again. Now I always keep my original layout. That's always really useful. But down here is the option to get rid of it. I'm just going to keep it. So what happens here is it'll use the standard wall, which is in every drawing, and it's going to go off of the standard wall baseline, which is the center. Okay, so that's kind of what you get. What you could do then, though, is you could go after that. You could have it all highlighted and switch it over to the preferred wall style, which I just did. Now notice in this case, what happened when I converted it is it put the finished material to the inside. So it wasn't reading the polyline or this conversion process. properly. You could try this. You could try to right click and go down and do a reverse on the baseline and see if that helps you out. So what happened here is I select, the circle is here to let me know where the polyline is. So it used that as the outside edge. So that little trick actually worked and saved me a bunch of time. Now I'm going to delete these walls, and let's go down here and select similar. Okay, let me just do a conversion the way I would normally do it. So I will go ahead and do a right click here, apply tool properties to line work. If you pick wall, that's how you convert one wall to another wall. But line work is designed for arcs and polylines, and I can't remember, I don't think full circles, but maybe I'm wrong on that. So I'll go ahead and select this and hit enter, and we'll take a look at what happened here. Now notice when I did do that conversion, it did the same thing as before. It is throwing the finished material to the inside and growing the wall to the outside, which is not how that wall was designed to work. So what can I do? I'm going to delete it. The problem is when I created this outline, I drew it in the clockwise direction, I believe is what I did. I never pay attention to the direction. If I see the problem, I know how to fix it. So I'm going to type in PE for polyline edit. I'm going to go ahead and use the reverse option down there. So R for reverse and enter to get out. Now watch what happens when I do this conversion here. Line work. Yeah, see, what is it to say? Oh, you can do circles. Okay. And then I go ahead and select here, hit enter, and this thing is now drawn properly. It is using the outside face of stud off of that polyline, so the wall is growing to the inward direction, and the finished material, which is the horizontal siding, is to the outside. So just that simple trick helped a lot by knowing that I can reverse the polyline. All right, I think I'm going to do one more demonstration of things you can do, and then I'm going to let this short video go. Let's do a select similar. And by the way, if you want to see more stuff like this, let me know in the comments. I'm happy to do more of these types of demonstrations. So here I'm going to create a tricky scenario. I'm going to draw a wall at an angle. I'm going to come up like this. I might even come down and do another angle like that. Let's say that's, I'm going to reverse these. So I'm going to select and I'm going to do a reverse baseline. I want the material to the outside. And then I'm going to go ahead and do an interior wall. And I'm going to do an interior wall from the shift here to the, go to the center. All right. So I'm creating kind of a horrible scenario. And then I'm going to copy this over to create another horrible scenario. I'm going to go ahead and just trim that. Okay. So what I'm seeing here is a cleanup scenario that I don't like. I'm going to pull this up a little more. And you'll see this doesn't want to clean up right. It's shooting through and making a mess of things over here. And boy, I remember, you know, before I started figuring other things out, I would fight with stuff like this. Eventually, I would just give up and maybe bring it down like that. And, you know, I remember not using these pochés in there, so you wouldn't really notice, or I would just bring it down to here and use fat lines and hope it would all kind of hide, or even go as far as using an AZ polygon. But let's learn the right way, or I should say a way that I figured out how to do it. I don't know what the right way really is, but I figured out something that makes this better. Now, what I can do here is I can go and investigate. I don't need to because I know what I can do, but let me show you how to start investigating scenarios like this. We'll go to the diagnostic, and what we'll see is the baselines of the walls and how they're intersecting. These baselines want to connect in order to do a proper cleanup. Otherwise, you have to work with something called the cleanup radius, which is a circle that reads, you know, out and finds the next closest baseline to work with. So, well, we can do it here if we want to. I can select this, and you will now, because you are on the diagnostic display configuration, you will see the option to control the cleanup radius. You will not see it under medium unless you do this. you can pick a wall, right-click, and go to cleanups, and you can toggle the wall justification display so you can see both things at the same time. That's fine. Go ahead and do that. You'll see. Then you just have to remember that you got to go back down there to cleanups and untoggle it. That's why I like showing this so that you can just do that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take that wall that's giving me some cleanup issues, and I'm going to manually override the cleanup radius, and I'm going to bring it down to about where I see it here. Now, I probably don't need to go that far. Let's just try to go to about here and see what happens. So we'll go back to medium. Okay, now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull this wall back a little bit, and then that fixes it. Why does it fix it? We'll go back to diagnostic, and you'll see because the cleanup circle is now reaching out far enough to hit the other baseline. All right, so you could do variations of this, more or less, of the cleanup radius. And you can track your cleanup radii, I guess you could say, on the properties palette. So if I select it here and run over to my properties palette, you will see that there's an override on the cleanup radius overrides right here. So this is a way you could undo that mess if you don't want it. That's one of the techniques for that. Let's try this again on this one up here. So yeah, I could do it with the properties palette, or I can just do it here, diagnostic, come down, grab the circle, bring it out a little bit. I can go crazy like that. I might as well just go crazy like that right there. Okay, and then I'll go back to medium, and I'll pull this back just a little bit like that, and I'm all good. I could even probably come all the way down to here, yeah, which is a little bit of a cleaner. If you're handing this off to some other person in your office, you probably want to be a little bit, oops, this one likes to be here because of the cleanup radius. Yeah, so I should probably adjust that cleanup radius. But I think, no, I want to show one more thing, and then I'll end this. Another common little problem that you might run into, this would occur most likely with as-builts, where you don't know what's going on with a wall, but you want to make a nice little drawing anyway. So you draw a wall across like this. Okay, I'm going to flip that. I don't want it pointing out. And then there's a continuation of that wall, let's say. Oh, by the way, if you're copying walls from snapping, do this the same thing with doors and windows. A safe thing to do is lock your Z. You might notice with doors, if you copy them and you're snapping, they'll jump a certain amount. For me, it's often, I see 18 inches or 14 inches or something. There's something of making that hop. And that's just because whatever you're snapping to is at a higher or lower elevation. So locking that Z is a good idea. So now I can copy this wall and not worry that I'm pushing the wall up or down. What I'm going to do is run over here. I'm going to make that wall 8 inches wide. Okay, and I get this. If you've run into this problem, you probably know, oh man, this is a mess. Now, in fairness to the software, it's a little goofy, right? You've got your stud intersecting another stud, and what should occur here is some kind of solution to that, which would require some effort in doing a wall end cap style. When I'm cranking out as-builds, I don't have time to worry about every little end cap. It may be an area of a building I may not even be doing the remodeling work on. So what I want is I want these things to disappear. I want it to work, and I want to move on. So what we can do here is pick the wall. Now you can also type this in as WallMerge. You can do that, or you can pick the wall, come down, and let's see, where is it in here? WallMerge, I think, is under cleanups. And you go down here to add WallMerge condition. So that's the same as typing in WallMerge, and it already has that one highlighted. So I just pick the other one, and I hit enter, and voila. I've now merged those two together, and it seems content. So we're good. If I pick that wall, right-click, and go back to the cleanups, I can undo it by remove all WallMerge conditions, just so you know. If you ever want to see those again. And that's where I'm going to stop. If you want to see more, tell me in the comments. I'll focus on other tips and techniques and tricks. I'm out.